carried to safety, so it goes quiet, so it doesn't get you both killed. But carrying alone wasn't enough. You also had to feed them. And what ancient humans fed their babies would make most modern parents flinch. Mothers breastfed for a minimum of 2 to 3 years. In many hunter-gatherer groups, 4 years or longer. This was not a lifestyle choice. This was the only option. There was no formula. There were no bottles. There was no clean water safe enough for an infant to drink. Breast milk was the only sterile, nutritionally complete food a baby could receive, and it carried antibodies that fought infections in a world with zero medicine. Breastfeeding also did something else. It suppressed ovulation. A mother nursing around the clock would not get pregnant again for years. This was nature's birth control. Because if you had 2 helpless infants at the same time in the Paleolithic, the odds of losing both went through the roof. And when the baby started needing more than milk, there was no baby food. No mashed fruit in a jar, no soft cereal from a box. What there was premastication. The mother, or the grandmother, or whoever was holding the baby, chewed a piece of meat or a tough root until it was soft and partly broken down by their saliva. Then they pushed it from their own mouth directly into the baby's mouth, lip to lip, saliva carrying digestive enzymes and immune cells straight into the child. Some anthropologists now believe this is the evolutionary origin of human kissing. Not romance, not affection, a mother feeding her child the only way she could. And then there were the grandmothers. This is the part of the story that nobody expects. Most animals die shortly after they stop being able to reproduce. There is no evolutionary reason to keep a body running once it can no longer pass on genes. But human women live for decades after menopause. Why? In 1997, anthropologist Kristen Hawkes at the University of Utah published a study on the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last hunter-gatherer groups on Earth. She found that postmenopausal women were among the hardest working and most productive foragers in the entire group. They spent hours in the heat, digging tough tubers from hard ground. They collected foods that young children could never get on their own. And they fed their grandchildren. This meant that mothers could have another baby sooner, because grandmother was already feeding the last one. Hawkes called this the grandmother hypothesis. The reason human women outlive their fertility is because grandmothers who helped raise grandchildren passed on more of their genes. Your long lifespan exists because 300,000 years ago, an old woman digging roots in the African sun was the difference between a child living and a child starving. Menopause is not a breakdown. It is a strategy. One of the most successful strategies our species ever evolved. And here's the part that should unsettle every modern parent reading this. For 300,000 years, no humans had raised a child alone. Never. It was always a group, always a network of hands, always someone to pass the baby to when you couldn't hold your eyes open anymore. The average mother in a hunter-gatherer band had somewhere between 5 and 15 people actively helping her raise each child every single day. Today, in most industrialized countries, that number is 2. Often 1. You are sitting in an apartment at 3 a.m. with a screaming infant and nobody is coming. No grandmother down the path, no aunt in the next shelter. No neighbor who will hold your baby while you sleep for an hour. The exhaustion and loneliness that modern parents feel is not weakness. It is not a failure of character. It is the result of trying to do alone what your body was never once, in 300,000 years of evolution, designed to do alone. For the entire history of our species, the question was never whether one person could raise a child. The answer to that was always no. The question was whether enough people cared about that child to keep it alive. And for 300,000 years, enough people always did. Because that's the only reason any of us are here. That's all for today. Anyway, please donate or subscribe to fund the next video.